Hi, today I want to talk to you about Arnold Schoenberg and the Second Viennese School, particularly why they actually felt that they needed to replace tonality with something else. So why give up tonality in the first place? Well, around the 20th century, composers started to feel that tonality had used up all that it had to offer. Now they started to have the question, do we actually need tonality? Is tonality something that we just naturally enjoy? Or do we only enjoy tonality because that's the music that we are constantly exposed to? Now, Schoenberg had been writing freely atonal pieces for a while, but there's a couple of disadvantages he felt. He felt that there was a tendency to accidentally fall into tonal tropes. And he also felt that the music wasn't quite coherent enough. The method he devised in 1921 was called 12-tone or dodecaphonic music. It prevents the composer from falling into tonal sounding passages and at the same time has a complete musical cohesion. You might think that challenging a musical tradition that's been around for almost 300 years at this point seems a little bit ridiculous, but you have to frame it in the turn of the century world. What is new in Schoenberg's world? Human flight, the automobile, Einstein's theory of relativity, Sigmund Freud's theories on psychology, movies, first commercial radio broadcast, records, Cubism and the avant-garde in art, the 1918 flu. We also have World War I. Now, if the whole world seems to be running on new rules, why should music stay the same? Schoenberg's not trying to make music more complicated by introducing 12-tone. He's actually trying to create a sense of musical cohesion, a simplicity in having everything use the same musical language. He is trying to replace one system of creating music with another system. So what exactly is 12-tone? Well, in the Western system of music, we have 12 different notes. You can look at the piano and you can see that there's 12 different keys, each octave. That's it. That's the entire Western system. In the tonal system, we normally don't use all 12 of the notes. We normally break it down to scales with only 7. In these 7 notes, there's a hierarchy of importance. The most important note of any scale is called the tonic. In the case of the key of C major, C is the tonic. Now there's also another note that's extraordinarily important, and this is called the dominant. In the case of C major, that's going to be a G. Now the tonic's going to be stable. It's going to feel like home. It's going to feel resolved. And the dominant's going to feel unstable. It's going to feel tense, like it wants to go somewhere. So a large part of Western music is the interplay between stability and instability, between dominant and tonic. Now, in the 12-tone method, Schoenberg wants to make it so that all the keys are created equal. Every single note is treated equally with all the other ones. There's not a hierarchy anymore. So if there's no hierarchy, then how do we organize the sound? Let's take the 12 notes that we looked at earlier and put them in an order where each note is used only once. This is going to be our tone row. Let's listen. To illustrate the different ways we can modify our tone row, I'm going to take and modify this image. Now we're going to call the main image our prime. We're going to take the prime image and we're going to invert it, meaning the bottom pixel is going to become the top pixel. We're going to find the retrograde of that inversion, meaning the right pixel is now going to become the left pixel. And we're going to find the retrograde of the prime, where the right pixel is now just the left pixel of the original image. These are 4 different ways we can have the same image. And we're going to do the same thing with our tone row. We're going to transpose it into all the 12 keys. We're going to find the tone row's inversion. We're going to find its retrograde, meaning we're going to start at the last note and go to the first note. And we're going to find its retrograde inversion. Now this gives us 48 possibilities. Now rather than listing them all out, we're actually going to put them in something called a matrix, where it lists all the possible arrangements of our tone row. The rules are we can choose from any one of these 48 possibilities, but once we start it, we have to complete it and we cannot repeat a pitch 2 notes back. Now we can have tons of different rows happening at times, and composers will cheat and they'll do various other things to make it interesting, but this gives us a very broad language and very broad palette to work with. Now, why did 12-tone music catch on? Now, up until the 1940s, pretty much the only people using Schoenberg's method were part of the Second Viennese School. Now, Schoenberg is living in Germany and he's Jewish. And there's a problem with that in the 1930s as the Nazi Party begins to form. The Nazis were using music by Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Wagner as part of their national propaganda machine. So Schoenberg escapes Germany to the United States. After the end of World War II, there's kind of this bad taste in people's mouth in regards to traditional music. But we have Schoenberg's method. So a lot of composers not only adapted the method because it doesn't have the negative stigmata in the 1940s of Germanticism. They felt that tonality had kind of reached its limit. In the 1950s, 1960s, a large amount of the composers in North America and Europe were using the 12-tone method. It shows up in everything from Broadway musicals to symphonies to Tom and Jerry. So it's being used for all these different things. Tonality is still around. It's just a lot of times the composers writing the 12-tone method are scoffing at the composers writing the tonal method. There's a movement that responds to the 12-tone system called minimalism. That's where you start to get ideas from people like Steve Reich and Philip Glass.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I'm sorry this took so long to make this video. I've been sick with the cold. You can probably hear it in my voice a bit. If you're interested in learning more about 12-tone, there's a really cool, awesome video by Vihart. Also, be sure to check out my last video on songs, and click here if you want. I don't know where I'm pointing.